What's up, Macroverse? It's another week of Tiny's Universe. Um, Again, I don't know what's happening. I think we've got Drip House, we've got DMC, we've got Maker's Room. There's so much happening. I cannot wait to get into this. And I know I've been writing, I've been reaching out, trying to get other people to come write. So uh, let's get none other than Eben, the man behind the Makerverse at the moment.
Yoink.
Yoink.
Hello. Yeah, I actually, it's funny you said it that way because I just finished a script right before we jumped on here today, so I'm kind of happy about that. It's a short comic story related actually to something we'll probably talk about tonight, but pretty fun. I'm
Well,
pretty happy.
well, and also say at the moment because I know you're trying to expand the makers rooms, and um, there might come a room or two where you're not the lead man. So I'm excited to see where this goes.
It's going to be fun, no question about it. So yeah, I think so much of growing anything is about learning to give up control of all of it, and those have been hard fought lessons for me in many areas of my life, I'll tell you. Yeah, no, it's, I think
Well,
you kind of flip, at least for me, it's like the mindset kind of switches from like caring about it being my thing and really learning and growing and being more excited about it being our thing, and then really the kind of final switch is like now I'm excited about it being your thing, and then I get to kind of cheer.
yeah.
But
Well,
I think that's an
listen,
evolution for a lot of creative people.
I I think through the first, I think this is what now for me maybe the third round.
At
There's
least,
a couple
yeah.
people that could definitely take the rings and like really teach some people. I mean, I know Rommel, man, coming up from the beginning has shown me so much just in terms of how to write and how to build
Yeah.
characters, and it's crazy like what the people in the community. Watching these people from 2 years ago grow over the even
Yeah.
myself included. It's just amazing.
Well,
It's crazy.
Let's back up for a second, because just for context, who are we? Where are we? What are we talking about? We just kind of dove right in here
Perfect.
today. So if anyone is coming to this new, let's give you a little context and or rewind. Exactly.
I actually had someone asking today about Macronauts and how
Oh, well, we can
to
we can talk about
access it.
Macronauts. I've
So
got some
it's
about
like
that.
I feel like there should be a whole rewind about like
Yeah.
I feel like we dive in because I expect um, a lot of the same Macroverse people, but man, yeah, definitely. Please, we need an
Oh, and actually,
introduction too.
as a side note, like I can see the numbers of people watching while we're live, and this is streaming like in a bunch of different places, so it's kind of telling us the numbers that all around, and it's people more. It's kind of growing every week, so I think there are new people coming
Awesome.
to these streams, which is great. So yeah, so I mean, I'm curious how you'll describe it. So give the kind of introduction from your point of view. This is
Man,
Tiny's universe. I'm just a guest in it. So who
well,
are we? What are we
I will
doing? What's
say,
Macroverse all about?
man, we are Macroverse, and Macroverse to me is my family. First off, it's my friends, but it's a community full of not just writers, not just creators, but um, dreamers and visionaries, musicians. It could be anything and everything, and I think the goal is to bring them all together and to make um, amazing content, amazing franchises that build out for ages and ages to come and expand over not just comics or digital, but physical, every spectrum that you could ever imagine. I think Macroverse has taken on more than I could ever dream of. So that's what it is to me.
Yes. Well, I appreciate that. So just, from my point of view, so I'm Evan Matthews, co-founder and CEO of Macroverse, and there's the thing that we set out to solve and has really been part of my passion for my entire life in one way or another is, reconfiguring the way that the comics industry works, and as creative people being able to create a more I kind of call it a more right-sized system for the rewards that people that make stuff get. And so we started that with a traditional mobile app, which is out on iOS and Android. There's about 1,000+ episodes of content on there now. We've got actually some pretty big plans for what happens with the mobile app over the second half of this year. And then we expanded into the Web3 space when we fell in love with kind of the ethos of being able to build things that do exactly that, like create, new systems, new thinking around how to allow people to engage with things without kind of traditional gatekeepers, being able to have things that can seamlessly distribute royalties and residuals, and solve some of the problems or challenges that kind of exist in traditional parts of the not just the comics industry but the entertainment industry as a whole, where creators and artists and writers in particular have just historically been taken advantage of. And so it's really our mission to rebuild the experience of what this stuff is for consumers and collectors, but also what the creator experience is when many of the things, I would say the majority of the things that we as consumers of entertainment have fallen in love with over the last 20 years have come from, in many cases, comic books and other media where the person that actually created it has seen very little to no upside, from that creation. And so being able to rethink how that stuff all happens is, we're early in that part of the journey, but that's where we're headed with everything that we're building. So that's the kind of larger context. And then, in the midst of all that, we're trying to have a lot of fun making stuff, helping other people learn how to make stuff, letting people own characters that they can turn into pieces of these larger franchises that we're building. That gets into the Maker's Room piece that Tiny was talking about. Exploring and playing with other creators, which is what we're doing with the DMC stuff on Drip House and beyond, and our own channel on Drip House, and a bunch of other stuff that's coming down the road in the second half of this year. I was going to save this for later, but we are heads down deep into a bunch of conversations and negotiations with some very, very notable brands and companies that are going to just supercharge everything that we're doing, such as pretty much you think of who you think it might be, and it's probably them. I'll say it that way. We're talking about like the real stuff that you would want to do. Yeah. So it's going to be, I will caveat that by saying, these things take time to put together in a way that makes sense for everybody. It's not something we're going to announce next week. It's something that's taken months to get to this point. It might take another couple of months to be where we can actually really start talking about it. We have mentioned that we're doing a bunch of stuff with Titan Comics and, related to Mixprint and other products that we're bringing to market. But, that's just the beginning of a bunch of very exciting things that, if you're a part of any piece of what we're building, you're going to get at least a front row seat for, and in many cases, a chance to come and participate and be a part of it, which I'm quite excited about. So yes, lots to pay attention to over the next.
I feel like too, as people get on board with this and as people catch on to like what the big picture is, like, I can't imagine who's really not going to want to jump on board with this.
Yeah,
it's just so mind blowing and game changing. And I feel like again, for years I've been saying like I can't wait for the day I can say I told you so, but that's like on the old plan. It's like it just keeps growing, and it's just becoming this thing. Like, I mean, like
Yeah.
I do feel like, I mean, Macroverse is almost like like its own living organism. Like it just keeps growing. I mean,
Yeah.
I thought like a year ago, like we were changing the game and things were, you know, so far ahead of what people were ready for. And then here comes mixed print, and here comes the next step, and here comes the next idea. And yeah, like these things aren't happening fast like the market wants to see. And like a lot of the people that are used to Web3 want to see that, like that quick turn. But we're talking about like, to me, I mean, entertainment wise, like life changing, almost again, like we've compared it to the internet or like web, like even video games and comic books. I mean, like just the way they were doubted and then grew. And I don't know, man. Like I cannot wait. I cannot wait.
Well, I just want to bottle that enthusiasm and share it with everyone that we possibly can. So that's our goal. We need Tiny Universe energy drinks or something. I think.
I know. That's my goal anyway.
Yes, let's do it. So yeah, I mean, these things do take time. I think and it's interesting you said it the way you did, because I think this is a journey. It's something where there were things that we thought would work in the beginning that didn't work. There are things that we thought that we never thought of that were just like, oh, let's try this and see what happens. That ended up working really well. That we now kind of doubled down on. There are new products that have arisen just in the past, several months where we're like, oh, this is actually a perfect fit for this, kind of larger ecosystem that we're building. And so, it does expand and it does evolve. And I think, especially kind of as a startup and as a company that's trying to do something that's not just walk down the kind of tried and true path, we have to stay nimble. We have to stay willing to explore and try things and experiment and continue to work with great people that have brilliant ideas and take those ideas and run with them when we can, and can just be nimble in a lot of ways. And so I think it's but this has become a Drip House fan channel in some ways, but I think it's one of the things I love about what we're doing on there right now is it's a weekly experiment. It's a weekly opportunity to get direct, immediate feedback from putting stuff out and seeing what the reaction to that stuff is, and then trying twisting that dial a little bit to try something new and seeing how people respond to that, and being able to really directly interact with people that are interacting with the stuff that we're putting out. And so that's been a really great great opportunity to connect to collectors and fans and other creatives, and be able to kind of play in that ecosystem. And it's one we've gotten very bullish on as a part of this kind of broader ecosystem that we're building. So I think it's that that immediate feedback. As I was talking to my co-founder Ricky, who's been in the games industry for 25 years, it's like it has a lot of similarities to what you would call live ops in the video game world, where you're running event in Fortnite, and there's a whole team at Epic which is making sure that the things are showing up in the right places and the events are happening as they're supposed to. And it's like that's kind of how it feels like with what we're doing on Drip right now, and I'm actually having a blast doing it. So it's very, very fun. So yeah. So
well, speaking of, I mean, I gotta say, yep. On my end, as a fan and a collector, I got a regular Darkland, and I did get a rare DMC.
Excellent. Yes.
Which
let's talk about
I wasn't expecting it.
Both. Let's talk about real quickly both drops that went out this week, because I think I was very excited about both of them. And DMC was one that we've been working on for a while, so it got a lot of the spotlight this week, but very excited about debuting Darkland in this way as well. So I am going to risk sharing my screen here. We were just doing a little technical testing ahead of the stream where, for some reason recently, I look totally normal on video when we're talking, but then when you see the video playback afterwards, like I'm all pixely, and it's not an intent to be some kind of hip and cool retro anonymous filter. It's just some kind of technical problem. So we might have realized that it's when I share my screen that it causes that. So this will be a test for all of us if that is in fact what happens. So let's see when I switch to screen sharing. Fortunately, it seems that you can still see the screen even if it makes me pixely. So let's see how this goes. So this is looking at the DMC channel on Drip House. And there's a couple of fun things to dive into here. So we had a phenomenal first drop, which was this 8-bit DMC drop with a artist that goes by Duxy. Part of the fun that we're having with the DMC channel and it was really, it really fits in perfectly with our ethos and also with Daryl, Daryl DMC himself, who is just a really creative, giving, wonderful collaborator in every way. But we wanted to start this channel also because of the story that we're building here, where the concept is that DMC is kind of a character in a multiverse of possibilities. And so there's the reality that we know where DMC has become, one of the most influential people in all of hip hop, and first, as part of Run DMC, first gold record, first platinum record, first multi-platinum record, inductee into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Just on and on and on and on and on. But as a creative, he's always loved comics and has actually published comics and has his own comics publishing company, which we're now all partnered up in. But we wanted to kick off this channel by doing two things: letting other creators kind of bring their own point of view and their own spin to that concept. But also we found as we were starting to work with people that there's just a desire to make something that kind of celebrates their own relationship to who Daryl is, their music. And so we kind of, you'll see kind of a combination of those two concepts in these first number of drops. And so I love this, and that Duxy created these, 8-bit pixelated versions of DMC. They kind of speak to different eras of his career. He's also known as the King of Rock, or the King of Rock and Rap. And so the legendary with the crown. We created a really limited edition legendary, this kind of OG black and white version, which I absolutely love, which was, for anyone that gave a 100,000 droplet donation. And then there are two ultimates, one that was through auction, this kind of, I call this one the Dark MC. And then this really cool, kind of pixel version of what I think of kind of an album cover, which pays homage to the kind of history of mixtapes as part of the early distribution for hip hop and rap as well. So I love everything that Duxy did for this collection. And it's one of those things where we, had this idea of kind of staggering it as a way to let people kind of unlock the different tiers, which was a lot of fun. And then in addition to that, we kind of put out this audacious opportunity for anyone that wanted to, quote unquote, join the DMC crew, $1 million droplet donation, which sounds like a lot. And I'm not saying it's nothing, but it's not crazy. We create a custom character based on any PFP, or it could be a picture of yourself in the style of this particular drop. And so we've got two crew members so far. This is the first one that just got delivered today, which I think is kind of awesome. So the first member of the DMC crew is actually a Pepe, which is just so fitting for this space. I can't wait to show the second one because it's awesome. And then we, drop 2 came out today, and this is what I love about this. It's a totally different style, totally different artist. He goes by Vanta. Love his work. And so we call this the DMC Underworld, and kind of reimagining if DMC was more of a dark mythological, character, even in a version that, looks like him, kind of coming from the underworld as opposed to, kind of being the in reality much more, kind of light, light in the sense of kind of always trying to uplift people. This is the version of DMC that will take your soul down into the underworld. And then I just love one. It's so cool.
I will say, like, Vanta's one of the ones that I've been following since probably maybe my second week on there.
Yeah.
And again, that's when I think and probably you're the same. Like I had to buy full collections from him because
I absolutely did.
Just phenomenal. I mean, like the artwork is really good.
Yeah. And his work is it stands out. It absolutely does stand out. And in this collection too, so we're into now, the basic, piece, the common piece, the rare piece, the legendary piece, and then there's a limited edition legendary in this drop, as well as the same opportunity to have a custom PFP made now, in this case by Vanta, for anyone that decides to join the DMC crew during this drop. So I just think that's so cool that, as a mechanic, as something that we could really only do in this space as a collectible, being able to kind of drop by drop have your own character crafted as part of this DMC crew concept, and this will all ultimately be expressed and come into play in this larger graphic novel and comic series that we're making with DMC, that is really about this concept of him being all of these different characters, all these different expressions of his personality across the multiverse. And man, I mean, I love what Duxie did. I love what Vanta did. We've got another 15 or so artists lined up, and just every bit of the stuff that I've seen has just been inspired and wonderful. And so I'm just excited about every single thing that's coming down the road for DMC. So it's a very exciting thing. And I want to take a moment too, just to shout out everyone that supported the first drop, because it was, really went exceedingly well. And what I can say about that is that, I don't want to call anybody out, but I will say that there were a couple members of Daryl's team that are not as familiar with the space, and a little, just had some questions about, how this would work and how it would be received, and would people really embrace this? And while Daryl was always very gung-ho about it, he's got an incredible team of people around him who have helped him, become as successful as he's become. And so these are not voices that we ignore, but they are voices that we, have to be able to show, like, yes, there's something really worth, pursuing here to build this next phase of his career. Because that's really what he sees, what we're doing with this DMC universe concept, is that this is kind of the next thing that he really wants to focus on. And
the cool thing really to me, and it's not only that that's building his career, but for example, and well, I don't know if you can see, I think like the screen is really small in there. I don't know if you can expand it.
Which one do you want me to go to?
Well, I just see all black with like the screen share in the corner really small.
Oh, weird. What happened? How about now?
There you go. So,
okay,
not only is he expanding his career, and I mean, his fan base is ridiculous. We don't need to talk about like trying to build his fan base. This guy is legendary. I'm pretty sure they're in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I'm not positive about it, but legendary. So, but like, you've got these guys that are building their careers on here as well from a much different perspective. And Vanta, for example, I mean, like, he's not small. He's one, I think, on a common, you're going to see like 1.5 thousand thanks on a common drop. And that's, to me, those are probably getting secured in now. Like, that's a lot of people that are not only following his art, but now they're going to see Macroverse, they're going to see
Yeah.
DMC, and vice versa. Like people that have not seen his artwork are going to say, "Holy cow, this stuff looks phenomenal. Who is this guy?" Just because we've seen him for a while doesn't mean that anyone else knows that he's on there yet or has seen him. Just through the regular search bars and stuff. So, it's to me, it's again, it's what Macroverse is all about. It's not only, building the brand and building DMC, but each individual that gets to work each week and be part of this is helping us, and hopefully we're helping them, and we're all growing together. And that's why I said this thing is just like a living organism that just keeps building and building and building. And to me, it's like breathtaking almost. I mean, especially to see, I mean, gosh, we've been doing this for, you've been doing this for a lot longer than me, and to try to grow and grow and grow, and then to see how many people this gets to in such a short period of time is just mind blowing.
Yeah, no, it's really cool, and what you said is kind of exactly what I pitched to Daryl and his team when this first came up. Is I think the idea here is to just make this a win-win-win all the way around. That it's it's something that helps to create a foundation for this larger universe that we're building. It helps to support other artists and creatives that we're collaborating with, and hopefully bring a little more attention to their work as well. It helps build Macroverse as kind of the mastermind behind all of this stuff. And it just creates this kind of win-win scenario for everyone involved, and that to me is always what we're trying to accomplish. It's it's an overused term in the space, but I think it's really the goal is to align incentives to get everyone moving in the same direction, because when everybody wins, it's not just that we all get to go like yay, it's that everybody actually gets something that they wanted out of the experience. And I hope that and for collectors too, like to be able to have like this is Daryl's first anything on chain. So like this Genesis drop that we did last week, that is the first moment of DMC being on the blockchain, and I think that's meaningful as well. So
and I think people don't realize how, I mean, that's a big moment in his career, in my opinion. And I think people could almost belittle that because it's basically given away for free. You know what I mean? Or such little, but
I think that to me, that's why it was perfect, because he got approached like so many celebrities did many, many, many times during the bull market and said no to everything. And it was very much because, he is someone, and this is not meant to throw shade on anybody that did anything else, but it's like he is very protective of his reputation, how he presents himself. Like, he is very concerned with making sure that the things that he does really lift up other people and support other people. And so, I think that's actually why this made sense to him, as it was like, there is no world where this is him extracting money from other people or, taking anything away from them. It's really just a way for him to share, his own love and passion, and, create, again, this dynamic of kind of a win-win-win scenario here. He's been traveling in Asia and doing all kinds of his own other things at the moment, but he sees all of this stuff, as it comes through the pipeline and makes its way, up onto Drip House and anything else that we do. He gives comments on stuff, and at some point, we will be able to work out a live, some live appearances. He's going to show up on a Twitter space at some point and talk about, kind of what we're doing. And we've got some other things that we're working on. So scheduling's been a little tricky around that stuff, but he's super into it. And, I'm going to actually try to get him onto one of these streams with us as well, but we'll see. I was
going to say, I might pass out.
Well, now I have to do it. Dang it. So,
Forget how to talk.
that's the DMC drop last week and this week. And you can still, if you've subscribed to the channel, you've at least got, access to the base drop for this week. And then, if you support the channel, that will unlock other things on here as well. So, check out the leaderboard, check out the perks and rewards, go where you want to go with that. But there's a lot of fun opportunities to get more and participate more as we grow this out. Let me switch over to Macroverse real quick, and we can talk about Darkland. So, you'll notice a pattern here of what we're doing on the Macroverse channel. I don't know why that goes down to the corner. So when I come back over here, when I'm controlling the web page, it goes down to the corner, which is exactly when you don't want it to go down to the corner. Then when I come back to talk about it, it goes back up. So we got some technical challenges to figure out. But regardless, you'll notice a pattern of what we're doing on the Macroverse channel, where essentially we're going PFP collection or character collection, as we like to call it, and then comic related to that character collection.
Yep.
And so, this is probably back down in the corner again, but starting with the digital pools is kind of where we started going through this cycles where, you've got a collection of characters which come from this particular world. So in this case, the digital pools divers, they are characters that exist in the world of digital pools. And then we released the first episode of the digital pools comic. And of course, now as we talk about technical issues, there we go. So it's full kind of basic collection. One of the things that's fun about this is, we've built all of these as full PFP collections that you've seen so far. So these will actually be released as a full collection of characters that you'll be able to customize and play with and bring to us to help, create stories around. And there's lots that we have planned for each of these character collections. But it's been fun to debut them this way because we've been sitting on them for a little while, kind of figuring out the best way and place to bring them out. And, we could get into a whole conversation about Ethereum right now and why that's not where we're going to stay for a bunch of variety of reasons. And we'll have something to say more about that later. But
nobody
we haven't launched them. The reason we haven't launched these other collections is really just for that, because we realized, to do the kinds of highly engaging, highly interactive experiences that we've built from the beginning, there are too many constraints when you've got to spend, 10 or $20 to move stuff around or update things or, mint and those sort of things. So anyway, we're working on solutions for that, which I think will make a big difference. Again, these characters will all get released as kind of a bigger collection. But what's fun about this is each of the character collections that we released are done with the artists, in most cases, of the series itself. So you got a consistency between the comic series and the character collection. And then even these editions that we put out, which we call signature editions, these are crafted from the traits and pieces that are in the collection, but they're further customized by the actual artist. And so in this case, Matt Stevens, who's the artist on Digital Pools, he went through, built all these characters, and then, tweaked them a little bit so that they're truly unique for this first, version that you're going to see here on Drip House. And so while you will be able to build a lot of very cool characters in each of these worlds, this particular exact version is going to only be unique, to this original release on Drip House. So I think there's something very cool about that. Because they're NFTs, these will be building blocks and tickets. And, as we get further into the releases of these things, anyone that has these will get some special stuff in the further release. I mean, one of the things I love about all this stuff is we can use these as Lego blocks. But regardless, that's all kind of in service of getting to last week's drop and this week's drop on Macroverse. So last week we did Darklanders, and as you might guess, from the world of Darkland. And we had a lot of fun with these. So this is Frank Calico, who I absolutely love as an artist. He actually not only done all of the full Darkland series, but he's also the artist on the Wanderer series that we're working on. Shout out to the Wanderers. And so we're in lettering and kind of final production on that, which will come out later. But he built all of the pieces and parts for this character collection, and then he and I customized them for this particular drop. And so, Darkland is, we always describe it as Game of Thrones meets Veep, set in hell. So it's the kind of epic, the epic nature of Game of Thrones, the kind of dark comedy component of Veep, and then it's set in hell. So it's angels and demons vying for control of hell, basically. So each of the characters in this collection represent some form of either angels or demons set in this world.
I think this was maybe on probably episode 1 of Tiny's universe was Darkland, most likely. But again, like I kind of fanboyed out on the art and just overall the colors, the way the characters were set up, and this is another one that I can't wait to get into a PFP builder and see what the options are here and what they've built, because like every single character in that comic looks so phenomenal, and it's just like everything plays together so perfect, and these came out so perfect. I just again, like the excitement to like go in there and play around. And even if you're not minting them, like I know like with Dead Time, you could go in and build all day and mint your favorite. Like I just can't wait to play with these. I mean, some of these things, like it's just mind blowing.
Yeah, I love Frank's work. Like there's something about his style which really blends. See, he's a European artist who lives in Hong Kong, and I think that actually says a lot about his style in a way. So it's like there's kind of an amalgamation of what I would think of as kind of European comic art with a bit of a manga influence, and then he's got his own kind of special aesthetic and sauce that kind of stuck on top of that. He's a phenomenal character designer. He's done work for Riot and other video game companies. Like he's just great dude. I mean, just a really wonderful person to collaborate with. So these make me really happy as well. And, this is one that I actually built with his blessing, and was very happy about that. So this was a really like super, we just put this one out as a thank you for the top 5 on the leaderboard last week. And so that's the other thing I love about like the way Drip House is set up, is it's so my nature to try to like look at what happened this past week. How do we take that and do something cool with it? And so this was one of those cases where it was like, people were really responding to the drop, and I don't think maybe we did announce it like a day or two before, but it was like, if you're top 5 on the leaderboard, here's an extra one. And so I think, being able to do that kind of stuff is just fun to play that game with people. I will tease that we've got something planned along those lines for DMC, which no one is really going to see coming, which will probably be this week or next week. But just saying. So anyway, Darklanders are the characters. Get those droplets. Yes, I will say get those droplets. Darklanders are the characters that live in the world of Darkland. And, we put out 4 editions here of Darkland, again, sort of base, rare, legendary, and a 1-of-1 ultimate cover. Because this is not working as expected, I won't try to go in and click through it, because if I do that, it's going to go off the screen. But
it's going to be smaller per click.
This is the full first episode of Darkland. I think it's about 180 pages or slides, taps, whatever you want to call it. And then leads
if anybody
directly
wants to
into
see it,
epics.
we'll say, like I said, I mean, we kind of went through this on, I think, the first or second episode. And so anybody that wants to see this comic, well, one, if you're on Drip House and you're subscribed, you probably have it, and you can go read it in its entirety. But also you can go and like we've reviewed this because it's definitely one of the favorites, and it's it's phenomenal. I mean, this was one of the ones I wanted to jump in immediately.
It's a good one. It is definitely very, very entertaining in my opinion, and kind of a very fun mix of, again, Game of Thrones and Veep set in hell with crazy over the top action. Now, I will give the not safe for work warning once again and say this one. We had the creative direction when we were making this series at every level that if they could do it on Game of Thrones, we could do it in this book, and in everything that entails as far as violence and nudity and other content. So we go a little nuts in here, but it's a lot of fun.
But I honestly don't think it's as bad as it sounds, and it came out phenomenal. Like,
there are a couple of that's the only thing. There are a couple of moments where you're like, is that really what I'm seeing in the foreground of this panel? In the foreground of the scene, are we really going to play this whole scene over the top of this particular thing that is arisen in the foreground? There are a couple of those moments. I like it. But overall, we're not. It is. It's done all for fun, and with the. I will say, Evan Shapiro, who's the writer and creator of Darkland, is not afraid of offending people in the best possible way. So, I think that's a part of its charm.
Speaking of Evan, I also want to say, and this is again like anybody that is watching this, obviously you can go on YouTube, you can subscribe to the Macroverse channel, and you can go back and basically see everything that's been done over the last several years. But there was the Reverse segment done with Evan, and man, it would, again, like, just to see him hang out and talk about it, like, that was one of the coolest interviews, one of the coolest sessions for me of that weekend and that whole Reverse period. So I encourage everybody to go back and not only subscribe to the Macroverse YouTube channel, but also go back and look for that Reverse with Darkland and Evan, because it was, I mean, that was a superb interview.
It's also, I'm gonna take this as a badge of shame and honor at the same time, because Reverse was we did this week-long live stream event called Reverse, which you can find all the episodes on. I think there's about 16 hours of content that we put together. It was, spotlights on our projects, but also a lot of interviews with other projects in the space, really trying to shine a spotlight on projects that were focused on storytelling and world building. And so, especially at that point in the market, we wanted to say, yes, we all know we would like number go up, but let's talk about the things and the people that are trying to make real entertainment projects, real content here. And so that's the focus of that event. Again, there's about 16 hours of different things. Some of it's about craft, some of it's with other people that are, in the entertainment industry in different capacities. We did a panel on publishing, like traditional comics publishing. There's a bunch of great content there, if I do say so myself. And we ended that event with the announcement of the first batch of our epics, our collectible, digital comics format, thinking they were coming out about 2 months later. And then it took another year to actually finish everything that had to be finished to get them out. So why I say that's a badge of shame and a badge of honor is that, when we're talking about all the things that we're working on, they may not always come in the time frame that we would like them to. And for that, I do want us to get better at shipping more faster. We're working on that. And everything will always come. Like, there is no world where we don't deliver the things that we've said we're going to deliver. So I do like to reinforce that as we continue.
I will say the epics came, and the epics are pretty epic. I mean,
they're pretty epic. Yeah.
I still need to go and hit them on the tablet. I've only done them on the phone.
So you definitely need to do them on the tablet. It's a totally different experience.
I'm missing out. I'm missing out, but that's coming very soon.
Yeah, and Darkland is a great one for that, just to bring it back to Darkland. So all of season 1 is now released in our Epic format. They're, still available to mint right now. They, are on ETH. They're in our, if you go to macroverse.com, you can mint one of 5 or all 5 of 5 series. There's this very innovative, interactive, NFT format that we created. And all of Darkland is released there. So if you like it on Drip House and you want to collect the kind of premium version of that, it's on macroverse.com right now. And so are many of the other series that we've released episodes of on Drip House. I'll ask you this live, Tiny, because I've been thinking about this for a little while. I mean, we have so many series that we could put out through Drip House as essentially kind of the first episode of this, and then the first episode of that, and then the first episode of the next thing. And there's, we've got 100+ series that we could do that with. I've been kind of now starting to think, though, like, at what point do we want to start to give people not just here's the first episode, if you want more, come to the app, which of course I want people to do. But also I think, we want to be able to give people a sustained, kind of engagement or a way to keep reading if they're not necessarily coming somewhere else off of Drip House. So, I've been trying to think about, at a certain point, we're only doing weekly drops. So do we commit to a kind of 6-week stint on a particular series? In some cases there are 12 or more episodes of a particular series, and so I've been thinking of it so far as like a sampler of like, look at all the cool stuff, and if you want more, here's where you can go get more. But I could see some benefit to going, let's do a deep dive on this particular series for a little while. What are your thoughts on all that?
So there's a couple things, man. I am a big fan of the promo code for the app.
Yeah.
So I would almost say kind of like the DMC, you could scroll through it and you could see the little page for the artist. It was cool. Almost at the end of the comic, to have an extra page added that says, if you want more, visit the website or get the app, and here's a code for 3 months or 3 weeks or whatever it is. And they can get that opportunity to experience the app, or maybe even 1 week. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And 1 week drops.
Well, here, so 2 things. I very much appreciate that feedback. 2 things. I'm clicking through it as quick as I can. So, in these episodes right now, and I'll have to come back over to the screen. So this is Darkland on Drip House right now. Let's see, getting to the last couple of pages here. So Darkland, there's two ways to continue the story for Darkland. One is to collect the epics, and that has the full series in it. The other way is the full series is also up on the mobile app. So this is in here at the end of every episode. If no one's noticed, like, this is a QR code that takes you directly to this particular series on the Macroverse app. It'll either take you to install the app and then take you to it, or if you already have it installed, it'll take you right to it. I will say, we haven't. This doesn't give you, a free subscription to the app or a free trial to the app. However, if you come into the Macroverse Discord and say, like, I'm reading these things on Drip, we will absolutely hook you up with a 3-month free subscription.
It's not like it's outrageously expensive anyway. The content is literally less than the cost of like one comic book these days. I mean, for sure. Legitimately.
Yeah. So it's $5 a month for all you can eat on the Macroverse app, and very much like Drip House in this way, like, we are sharing that revenue with all the creators on the app. It's a direct revenue share. It's not like, it's actually one of the things we were, as we started this conversation with, like, we don't love the model that exists out there in any other comics platform where, you've got to get millions of readers to begin to make any sort of revenue that's sustainable. And even then, it's a tiny percentage of what it should be if you're someone that has millions of readers. And so this is direct, share back to the creators.
The only other thing I would say is, while it's not about giving away too much for free, because I want people to, experience the story. I feel like it's, I don't know. It's having something different every week, and I mean, like, at some point you're going to run out. I get it. Like, there's only so many you could do, and you'll have to do more content, but it's man, I don't know. That's like one of those tough things. Like, which ones do you go back and pick, or which ones do you spend more time on, or which, because there's so many people that are interested in so many different things.
Yeah, and that's why we've been doing it the way we've been doing it so far, is again treating it kind of like a sampler of, like, look at the variety of material that we have here and go, come find some more that you like. It's less to me about running out, because I don't know that we ever would actually run out, because there's also stuff coming on to the app all the time too, and a bunch of stuff we haven't even released yet. So we've got a pipeline around all this stuff, which is great. It's less about running out, and it's more of just like, something like Remind. I mean, like any of the stuff that we've put out so far, Rommel, I see you, thank you. Any of the stuff that we put out so far, I just want to make sure that people get a chance to really, hopefully fall in love with it the way that I do. Because, I love every single series that we put out, or we wouldn't put it out. So it's just like, we gave the first episode of Remind is fantastic, but it's like a lot of your favorite TV shows where it's like episode 3 where you go like, oh my God, like now I've got to, read the rest of this.
Yeah, totally.
Like, I can't put it down. So I think that's my concern, is like, I think we try to make the first episodes very compelling and, give you a good taste of the world. But I think a lot of the time, it's like, it's enough. If you're in the app, you just keep reading, because you're like, I just keep tapping and I just keep reading. But in this format, it's like, is it enough to get you hooked,
Yeah, totally.
So I think the main point for anyone watching this right now is, if you liked anything you saw on Drip House so far on the comic side, just, ping us in the Discord and we'll hook you up with a free trial for a few months so you can really try everything out and continue the stories there. And we'll continue to work on some tighter around this stuff.
Just subscribe. Just skip that and just subscribe.
I mean, yes, ideally even better, just subscribe. But
it's so worth it.
If you want to taste, I will also say there are a bunch of things. Almost everything on the app starts with at least 1, in many cases 3 free episodes. So actually, if you want another bit of Darkland before you decide, like, the first 3 episodes are actually free on the app to read.
Yeah.
Most of the series are kind of structured that way. So there's a good bit to dive into even before you decide to pull the trigger and do the right thing and subscribe to it.
Oh man, it's one of those things I couldn't live without. Like, I swear, like, when I have downtime at work and I'm like, man, what, I got like, maybe a few minutes before something happens. It's like, what do I do? It's perfect. Yeah. It's like you can play like a mindless tap game, or you can read a super cool comic in tap format and come back right where you left off if somebody interrupts you. Like, I don't know. Like, it's definitely, for me, it's like part of my daily habit. I mean, like, just go in, see what's trending, see what's new. I don't know. It's for literally the price of a single comic. I mean, I can't get enough. But you know me, I mean, like, I'm in the comic store every other day, so I might be upset.
I'm going to apologize in advance for bankrupting you, Tiny, because we've got some stuff coming to the comic store as well. So
oh man,
we're gonna have to figure out ways to ameliorate that. Is my vocabulary word for the night. Yes. And so I think,
what kind of stuff would that?
Things that exist in the physical world as well as the digital world. Things that people will lose their minds about as
Please elaborate.
I mean, we have announced we have already announced Conan and Blade Runner, so we're doing Conan and Blade Runner stuff with mixed print. That's be awesome, and that's the tip of the iceberg. So it's it's a lot of fun stuff heading to all of the places that people like this kind of stuff that we like. So,
so what about what should, I feel like already like I don't even know where to go with PFP collections and stuff. What can we expect next on Drip House?
On Drip House, honestly, I'm between two things for this coming week, and it kind of depends on hearing back from somebody in time. So one way or the other, like the I'm not going to say what it is, but if I hear back in time and we're able to pull it together for this week's drop, so we're coming a little late in the week, and I try to get stuff over to the Drip House team by today, so that's not happening. So it'll need to be tomorrow. For it to get ready to go out on time. So if we're able to pull that together, it'll be one you're not thinking of, and it'll be one.
No, it might be one I am thinking of, because the only one I'm thinking of is Hal Hefner.
No comment. So we'll see what the timeline is, and if it's not that one that I'm not saying out loud, then we've got something else cool as an interim step. And then I will say, we've got something a little different that we're going to do with Deadtown as well, which will be over the next couple of drops. So if it's not, that one won't be this week. If it's not next week, it'll start to roll out the following week. I think we're going to do 3 weeks on Deadtown, because we've got a kind of a unique take on a way to present a piece of it, which I think people will be into. I certainly am. So I hope that'll be fun.
I started a Deadtown pitch, so I'm just still in this, Deadtown is so sick. It's, oh, man, I need more. I need more.
We've got more Deadtown coming for sure in a variety of ways. So very, very excited about that. It is one of my creative children that is near and dear to my heart for sure. And then I will tease, I'm having a meeting with Jason Trinidad tomorrow about Vogu stuff as well. And I have a plan for Vogu that I think people are going to be very surprised by in the best possible way. So I need to talk to Jason about that tomorrow, make sure we're aligned on how to do it. But something very cool that I think people will be very into, something we haven't seen before, as I like to try to do.
I would expect nothing less. I was going to say, if you came out and were like, hey, we're going to do something you've seen a couple times, but it's going to be cool, I'd be like, who are you?
At some point there'll be some of that too. But, we'll put our own spin on it regardless.
I will say, most likely, if anything's done, it's probably going to be done better.
Yeah, we do try to do that. At least hit the bar, if not. So let's talk about Maker's Room stuff real quick, because I do want to kind of shine the light back on that. So we just had session 2 this week of the Maker's Room. What is the Maker's Room? We call it that instead of a writer's room, because we don't want the perception to be that you have to be a writer, quote unquote writer, to participate, or you don't have to see yourself as a writer. It's really just a place for the community to work on story ideas and fleshing out the different worlds that we're playing in. So as we talk about these things related to Drip House, we have 6 main worlds that we kind of play in with the different PFP collections that we have, and then there are other opportunities to create stuff around that too. And now that we have these characters out through Drip House, those are a fair game to start to build some stories around. And so it's a place to start to expand these universes together. It's also our opportunity to give back to the community and to people that want to go through this process, where we teach kind of fundamental storytelling principles. How do you think about, crafting a story? We try to do it in a way that's very accessible. So, you don't need to see yourself as a writer or someone that would have ever written a story to be able to come in and play and participate and share ideas and, be a part of that process. So we had session 2 this week. It is definitely not too late to jump in. We started to see the first handful of pitches come in last week, and now I think even more so this week, which is great. This is also not something that is closed off, just to our own collections. Like this, the activity of being part of the Makers Room is open to any community, any collection, any creative. You might be an artist, you might be an architect, you might be a chef. It doesn't matter. You might be a lawyer. I'm sure your ideas would be valuable in this process. And again, any community is welcome to come participate. I think as we go through this process, our intention is to take a certain number of the pitches that get developed and put them into production as initially short comics, and then hopefully and eventually into other forms of media as well. So we may be a little more biased in that case towards our own collections, but that doesn't mean that can't happen with in partnership with another, collection or team as well. So we're open to a lot of that. But I think the opportunity for anyone is to come and have the experience and go through the process, which I believe is valuable, no matter what.
I was going to say, I mean, I can't tell you how many people I've talked to in other communities that have expressed how badly they want to make their own comic, and either don't know how, or don't have the means, or don't know the people, or have the expanded, I guess, relationships and acquaintances to make it happen. And that's kind of my whole thing with this. And what I was asking you the other day is like, who really can I invite into this? I think it's, beneficial for anybody that wants to learn, whether you want to participate or not. If you just want to learn, I think you're going to end up participating, whether you want to or not. But it's one of those things. Like I said, I think having gone through it a couple times, I've seen, like I mentioned coming into the episode, people grow. I've seen people venture out on their own and build their own comics. I've seen people get comics produced under, the Macroverse logo. It's crazy what can come out of these. And that's, the biggest thing is just showing up. And kind of like you said, just put the pen to the paper, just write, or whatever, just show up, just come and learn something and hang out, just have a good time. You never know what's going to happen.
Yeah, absolutely. So these are every Wednesday at 2:00 Pacific time, so 5:00 Eastern time. They are recorded. I will apologize that for some reason I am a person that works with technology every day, and I'm having some kind of, I don't know, Mercury in retrograde tech stuff right now. But one half of the Discord conversation from the other members besides me, which was really the stuff I wanted to be captured, not get recorded. So there are some blanks in the conversation where you'll hear me going like, yep, totally, yep. And it's a little embarrassing, and I do apologize for that. So if you're listening back to this past week's session, there might be a few places you've got to hit your skip button a couple of times, but I think it's a good breakdown. And basically where we are in the process is you own a character. Who is that character? And then this past week we talked about what journey are they going on and how to kind of start to put those pieces together. And so we'll take it from there this coming week and keep going from there.
That was like the perfect Cliff Notes, because I was going to say between week 1 and 2, again, I would never say you didn't miss anything, because there's always great stuff in there. But I mean, it's not too late to start. Like, we're still in the very, very, very beginning of this. So, I don't want anybody to get discouraged and be like, oh, they're 2 weeks in. it's just the tip. Like, we're just getting started.
Yeah, and it's the reason why I actually like Discord as a place to do this too, because you end up with a kind of record of each person's, process or progress. And so even if you come to this, at this point or a week later or whatever, it's like you have a little catching up to do, but there's a lot, there's not only the information that we're sharing and talking about, but also the real actual example of people that are going through this to be able to go see like, oh, this is what, this is the first session and this is what they did. And here's the second session and this is what, these 5 people did. And then, so forth and so on. So you can kind of see that history. And then I just think that's so cool. Like when the whole thing is done, to be able to go back and track it all the way back to the beginning and see how it evolved and changed and, how it went from idea to, finished thing.
Well, and that's one of the things I've been doing, especially with the Wanderers recently, trying to finish that up and stuff. And just going back, it started looking at mine, but then just going back and kind of reminiscing on everything and looking at everyone's pitches and just to see the comments and where it went from this little tiny idea to here's a story, here's a little bit of a dialogue to a full script, and then to see the artwork come in and stuff like that. I mean, and this stuff's all archived. It's really super cool to see. And again, even if you aren't that involved, I mean, you can honestly see the full process just through those archives on that stuff. To me, I mean, it's super educational.
Yeah. And fun. Come on, and fun. Very good, sir. All right, well, let's leave it there. So I think calls to action, Tiny Universe on Twitter. Is it Tiny Universe or is it some variation?
It's not. It's at Secret Agent Tiny. Tiny
Secret
Universe,
Agent Tiny. Thank you. Yes.
I think I think I used that one. Did it?
Yeah. Secret Agent Tiny on Twitter. I am Ebonverse on Twitter personally. Please also follow Macroverse. The DMC Twitter related to the DMC universe is actually called Breakbeatverse. And there's a reason for that, which will come clear later. We've got mixed print stuff going on if you're interested in that. We gave a bigger update on that last week. There will be more to say about that in the very near future as we are progressing down the road with Titan and some other cool stuff. Follow us. Make sure you subscribe to us both on the Macroverse and DMC Drip House channels. Lots of great stuff coming down the road there. And get the app. I think those are our calls to action for the moment.
YouTube, Discord,
subscribe on YouTube, do all the things. Come on, the
just
things
do it.
Do all the things. By the way, actually, I will make one request that we don't make. Oh, go ahead, Tiny. What?
I said all the cool kids are doing it.
Oh, all the cool kids are definitely doing it, but and so are the counterculture kids. So whichever group you find yourself in, you're doing the right thing. So one request I don't often make, but it actually does make a big difference. So if you have the app and you haven't done this yet, or if you get the app, give it a 5-star review and leave a positive review. Like those things actually do matter in the algorithms on the app stores. So it's always very appreciated. Feel free to even give it a better review than it deserves, although that would be hard to do. So
you can't go on 5 stars. I've tried.
25 stars. Come on. Turn it up to 11. And that seems like the perfect note. So thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Thank you, everybody, for watching later. We'll be back same tiny time, same tiny place. We'll see you next week. Cheers.